When I think about Lucifer, it's Gino. I close my eyes and I see him. You know what? Him. I'm gonna him over, you know?
When Jasmine sat across from her lawyer, she had one thing on her mind: hit Gino where it hurts the most. For 2 years, she had heard the whispers, felt the sting of Gino's accusations, and the tension suffocating her every move. But nothing could prepare anyone for what happened the moment Jasmine decided to fight fire with fire. She wasn't just looking for a split. She wanted Gino to pay, and she was convinced she had the perfect weapon in her hands. Ever watch someone so determined to get revenge that you start to wonder if they're taking aim at their own future without even realizing? Jasmine's showdown became a ticking time bomb the moment she vowed Gino would never walk away clean. The divorce should have been a line in the sand, a way for both of them to breathe after years of drama. Instead, it became the stage for her boldest, most dangerous play yet. She could have kept it simple, signed on the dotted line, and finally put Gino in the rearview mirror. But Jasmine wanted a war. She told her lawyer she didn't care about the money, but in the same breath, she pushed to expose every dollar Gino might have tucked away. She thought she could outsmart him, win back her dignity, maybe even walk away richer. What she didn't count on was how quickly the tables would turn. Gino, always slippery, saw the battle coming and started hiding behind paperwork and angry threats. By the time Jasmine got the judge to agree to comb through Gino's assets, the story had already slipped out of her control. At home, Matt waited, desperate for an ending that would set them free. Jasmine's need to win pulled her further from her new life and, without realizing it, she began risking the happiness she'd fought so hard to build. Was this about justice, or about proving Gino couldn't break her? Every time she dug deeper, it was another match to the fuse on her new family's peace. The messy reality is, revenge might promise sweet satisfaction, but what if the price is peace at home? Every choice Jasmine made, thinking she was punishing her ex, landed on her own doorstep like a pile of unpaid bills. Just when it seemed like Jasmine had scored a tiny victory, forcing Gino to show his hand, the universe snapped back hard. Jasmine believed she was about to win big, but the fallout was twice as fierce. She used Gino's name just to needle him. She pushed for more, convinced every fight brought her closer to healing. But was she rewriting her future for the better, or simply repeating Gino's mistakes in a new house? And how much damage would ripple out before she finally stopped swinging? This wasn't the ending anyone expected, but if you think Jasmine was ready to back down, you're about to see what happens when the urge to win turns a divorce into all-out war. Last time, the Jasmine-Gino saga looked like it was finally crawling to a bitter end. Gino was dragging his feet signing any paperwork, but he'd stopped throwing as many curveballs. Jasmine had started talking about moving on. Matt, her new partner and the one mostly playing babysitter to all this chaos, was begging for a divorce that felt like it had lasted longer than most reality TV franchises. Viewers everywhere were bracing for the expected credit roll, the one where each person updates their social media, claims personal growth, and we all try to forget the group chat drama. Everyone thought the worst was behind them because, for just a moment, Gino stopped threatening to call immigration, Jasmine started focusing on her baby with Matt, and peace looked possible. But peace with Jasmine and Gino is like thinking you're safe just because the roller coaster reached the bottom of the hill. You know that strange feeling when you sense there's another drop coming but you still hope for the best? That's where everyone was, just waiting for someone to start shaking the tracks all over again. Jasmine told everyone she wanted nothing but freedom from Gino. She promised Matt she was done fighting. If you believed that, you probably also believe open marriages on reality TV lead to happy endings. Her words painted one picture. Her actions started sketching out a very different, way messier portrait. It turns out Jasmine's version of moving on was loading her next episode with fresh ammunition. Matt was pacing holes in the floor, checking court updates like a parent waits for college acceptance letters. Jasmine, meanwhile, ramped up her campaign for revenge. She started scrutinizing every dollar Gino made, asking her lawyer for financial statements, and sniffing out any sign he might be cashing in behind the scenes. Forget a clean break or a simple divorce. This was shaping up like Jasmine applied for AK-1 visa, then stuck around for the crime scene drama. Behind the scenes, Gino wasn't getting any softer, either. He planned to talk about stock market timing and ducked every request for transparency, serving up enough paranoia to fill a whole season. The plot twist that nobody, not even Jasmine, seemed ready for was how quickly the mood went cold. Red flags were popping up faster than likes on a 90-day Fiancé meme the day after a tell-all. Matt begged Jasmine to let it go. Jasmine faked indifference about money, but burned hours chasing receipts. Everyone online started betting over when the next meltdown would hit, because no court ruling on earth was going to resolve old pain if Jasmine kept turning every detail into a fresh wound. That's when Jasmine's secret plan started bubbling up. If you watched her smile in the lawyer's office, you know there was way more brewing than she let on. The audience could see it coming, even if the family inside the story couldn't yet. Would Jasmine's search for payback shake out a real win, or did she have no idea what storm she was calling down on all of them? The real kicker is, her next play would flip the whole divorce on its head, but who would pay the price? Jasmine's plan for revenge wasn't subtle. She walked into her lawyer's office looking like she was auditioning for the role of reality TV villain of the year, convinced she had enough ammunition to bring Gino to his knees. She came armed with grievances, screenshots, half-buried suspicions, and that stubborn belief that if she poked the bear hard enough, she could finally win the fairy tale ending where Gino is exposed, humiliated, and somehow she saunters off into the sunset with Matt holding her hand. On paper, it sounded logical. Make Gino show his finances, hit him in the wallet, and tie up loose ends with a clean victory lap. The reality was messier, and Jasmine was the only one who didn't see how thin the ice was under her feet. Her lawyer didn't help. She poured gasoline on Jasmine's fire, pushing her to go after every cent Gino might have touched during their marriage. This wasn't a marriage that grew into a lasting partnership. It was more like a summer internship, short, intense, and badly ended. But Jasmine wasn't listening. Every time her lawyer hinted she had nothing to lose, Jasmine found a new reason to dig in deeper, breathing fresh life into grudges that probably needed to die months ago. Every win for Jasmine felt electric, a temporary rush every time she got under Gino's skin. Somewhere in the excitement, she forgot that winning a small battle could risk the whole war. This revenge game became a study in self-sabotage. Jasmine started sounding less like someone trying to heal and more like a person replaying old fights and rewriting their greatest hits. She told Matt she was over it, said Gino's money didn't matter, and yet she spent late nights scrolling through receipts, convinced Gino's next move would be his undoing if only she grabbed the right proof. The cruel trick of it all? With every step she took to punish Gino, she only tightened the ropes on her own freedom. Matt could see it, even if Jasmine couldn't. He watched her late-night rants, heard every just one more thing, and started to wonder who Jasmine was fighting for. Was she protecting their new family, or locking herself in a cage of old pain, with Gino as the cellmate? Meanwhile, Gino wasn't sitting quietly, letting himself become the butt of Jasmine's "you ruined my life" jokes. He had his own toolkit, full of stock market timing, stalling tactics, and legal tricks. He threatened deportation, called immigration 3 separate times because apparently nothing says closure like the promise of paperwork and security threats. Gino ducked requests for statements, fed Jasmine slivers of hope that maybe he'd lost it all, then boasted to friends about how smart his timing had been. Each counter-blow only fueled Jasmine's fire, making her more determined to prove herself right, as if some cosmic scoreboard would flash her name in lights at the finish line. Matt, caught in the middle of 2 heavyweight grudge matches, started breaking down. He'd signed up for a future with Jasmine, ready to be a dad, not a referee. What he got was monthly front-row seats to high-stakes courtroom melodrama, spiced up with passive-aggressive Instagram stories and enough, she said, to fill a year's worth of therapy sessions. Jasmine's stubbornness boiled over, and Matt's patience wore thin. He wanted resolution, not another championship round. He tried to pull Jasmine back, pleaded for her to end it, even made his own just walk away speeches, but Jasmine wasn't budging. Small victories only made it worse. The day the judge sided with Jasmine, forcing Gino to open his books, she lit up like she'd won the lottery. There was a charge in her voice, her eyes, even the way she told Matt about the outcome. She called the hearing better than an orgasm, as if the act of outmaneuvering Gino was its own intoxicating drug. But pride is a sneaky thing. It disguises disaster as destiny, turns stubborn anger into false validation. She thought she was winning, but every new battle cost more than she noticed. Nobody called Jasmine out harder than the audience. Thousands watched as her need to win ate up the family she'd worked so hard to build. Fans started picking sides, picking apart every move, every tear, every clapback. You could see the comment section split down the middle, with half the people yelling, "Girl, get your bag," and the other half wondering if Jasmine remembered where home even was. Matt, meanwhile, pulled back from Jasmine a little more each day, trying to love someone whose war was never quite finished, hoping she would see that peace at home can't be won through friendly fire. Every time Jasmine looked like she had the upper hand, something shifted. Gino was slippery, but life was slipperier. The more Jasmine pressed, the more Matt recoiled, and the more viewers braced for a meltdown that would make the divorce look like a garden party. Victory in one moment became regret the next, and Jasmine's hands got messier with each win. Her family less secure, her story harder to explain. Was the price ever worth it? Jasmine's revenge hit like a boomerang, and when it circled back, nobody in her close circle was safe from the impact. Jasmine couldn't see it yet, but the cost of white-knuckle grudges is steep. Sometimes fighting for a win just means everyone loses something different. Gino took the hits, but Matt absorbed the shock, and Jasmine's kid grew up watching two adults chase old ghosts while happiness sat waiting in the other room. The real twist in this chapter? Jasmine wasn't only risking piles of paperwork and a fatter checkbook. She was pushing the new life she claimed to want right to the edge, leaving everyone wondering which string would snap first, the old connection with Gino or the new one with Matt, still holding her hand but sensing she was slipping further away with every move. Once word spread about Jasmine's supposed big win in court, forcing Gino to show his finances, the internet lit up faster than a reality star's cameo requests. Fans on every platform had a take, and none of them held back. Some called Jasmine a queen for fighting back, screenshotting her reactions and posting side-by-sides with every strong woman meme in circulation. Others, though, wondered if she was digging herself into grief that could outlast any settlement check. The hashtags were brutal. People tracked courtroom updates in real time, side-eyeing every twist and swapping wild theories about who was lying, who was playing the victim, and who would end up with a heartbreaking last word. After the hearing, when it first looked like Jasmine pulled off the impossible, there was this wave of satisfaction washing over her small tribe of online supporters. Her lawyer called it a big win, and Jasmine wasted no time bragging about it to anyone still reading her stories. The tone was victory mixed with relief and old bottled-up anger finally being uncorked. She even compared the rush to a climax, a moment so wild it instantly went viral, clipped and reshared with every snarky subtitle possible. Still, everyone watching could feel the storm clouds gathering. Even Jasmine sensed that this upswing might be temporary. Some fans picked up on it too, leaving comments like, "Don't celebrate too early, girl. These divorces always have a twist." Turns out, the twist was already rehearsing just off camera. When the judge's final orders hit the court file, no one, not Jasmine, not Matt, not even the most engaged Reddit stan, could believe how hard the wind changed. Instead of Gino paying Jasmine, Jasmine was now the one on the hook for spousal support. $20,000 to be exact, doled out $500 at a time, month after month, like a subscription she could never pause. Every major gossip blogger posted screenshots of the ruling, with headlines that read like punchlines. Some called it karma, others called it cruelty, but everyone agreed. Jasmine's plan went up in flames, and now she was footing the bill for the very ex she tried to drag through the mud. Gino, for his part, didn't waste the moment. Suddenly, he was online less as the villain, more as the survivor. He leaned into the sympathy, never missing a beat as he told his side about feeling used, mistreated, and then painted as the bad guy. His supporters, always lurking in the comment sections, crowed about his redemption arc and started tallying up all the ways he'd been wronged. Jasmine, meanwhile, tried to keep her game face on. Her official statement tried to flip the narrative. She told followers that this should prove she never wanted Gino's money in the first place, and she posted screenshots from her exclusive platform, flexing how she could cover the cost in a single month if she had to. For a while, she convinced some people. Others were quick to call out the bluff, wondering if bravado and OnlyFans links were enough to fill the hole left by the judge's order. On Instagram and TikTok, battle lines were drawn around Jasmine's every move. Some viewers couldn't get enough of her loud comebacks, sharing clips of her roasting Gino or making fun of Matt's stoic suffering. Others posted whole threads about toxic patterns, pointing out how chasing revenge can backfire and how no new romance survives if old grudges stay front and center. There was a whole subculture springing up overnight, one-liner TikToks and Instagram reels comparing Jasmine's courtroom win to that sinking feeling when your card declines at Starbucks. People loved the chaos, but even fans thirsty for drama started worrying the price was too high. Why risk your family for a headline victory? Matt, who had always tried to look the other way and hope for the best, couldn't keep quiet after the ruling. The pressure of living in Jasmine's shadow, not to mention the legal mess, made his patience evaporate on camera and off. He posted less about family life, fewer updates about his daughter, started hinting in cryptic messages that enough was enough. Anyone who watched his face during the last hearing could see a tired resignation, the kind that creeps up when someone keeps waiting for peace and only gets more explosions. To outsiders, Matt looked like a loyal partner in over his head, a guy watching his second chance at happiness burn while everyone debates whether Jasmine's fire ever had a target or if the sparks were just flying in every direction out of habit. Followers sent DMs and left comments with practical life advice, armchair psychology, and all the empathy that Twitter could muster. They asked each other the tough questions. If you were Jasmine, would you have pushed for more, or signed the deal and left Gino behind for good? If you were Matt, how many courtroom visits would it take before you stopped believing in promises? Was there ever a chance for true revenge, or does going for payback always end with someone else holding the receipt? The answer wasn't always clear, which only made the speculation spin faster. Viewers debated whether Jasmine played herself, or if Gino's last-minute scramble had outmaneuvered everyone. Some joked that 90-Day Fiancé needs a financial literacy spin-off, starring Jasmine and a series of unfortunate invoices. Others felt the heartbreak, sharing stories about how old wounds in a breakup never seemed to close until someone finally stops digging at the scar. Jasmine's Instagram lived in its usual state of chaos, one day thankful for her new chapter, the next day posting shade about loyalty and betrayal, the next popping up to say everything was fine. Some fans rooted for her to pick up the pieces, to take the loss in stride, to finally close out the Gino chapter and give Matt the attention he deserved. Others kept their popcorn ready, certain the mess was only getting started, that this family drama would keep spinning as long as anyone could still hit record. There was no clean resolution, but plenty of side bets about whether Jasmine would lose more than money in her rush for revenge, or whether Matt would finally call time on playing second fiddle to a divorce he never caused. The world was watching for the next move, asking if Jasmine's loss would teach her the real price of winning, or if she'd double down and gamble what little piece she had left for another round. And now, with everything on the line, nobody could predict which bridge would burn next. By the time the court's ruling turned Jasmine's plan upside down, nobody in her world was left untouched. Money wasn't the only cost. Her relentless mission for a win chipped away at what she'd built with Matt, what she hoped to offer her new baby, what little piece was left from her years with Gino. There was a heaviness to every scene after the ruling dropped. You could see it in the pauses, in how laughter felt sharper around the edges and everyone moved more cautiously. Jasmine's big play in court didn't just force her to write monthly checks to Gino. It forced her to stare at the shape of her own choices every single day. Matt's face, once filled with hope when Jasmine talked about starting over, was now often set in exhaustion. He spent months propping up dreams of a normal family life. It turned out normal meant mediating late-night arguments about legal bills, dodging social media storms, and wondering when Jasmine would focus on their home rather than the last battle she fought. The endless cycle of papers, posts, and grudges drained Matt. As much as he tried to forgive Jasmine's stubborn streak, he started doubting whether she could ever choose them over her need to score a point against Gino. Every time Jasmine celebrated a win online, every time she snapped back at critics, Matt seemed to sink a little further into the background, more of a supporter than a partner, and sometimes not even that. The impact on the baby, who grew up watching tension dance between parents, is the kind you don't always see in Instagram highlights. Children notice what goes unsaid, the silences, the way grown-ups look away from problems instead of fixing them. Jasmine's focus on old pain bled into her presence at home, even when she told herself she was doing it all for her new family. Family life became a waiting room for Jasmine's next big reaction. The baby's giggles sometimes cut through the gloom, but the undertow of anxiety, the constant feeling that everything could explode at any time, made it hard for anyone to feel truly safe. Gino, who swore he wanted closure, found a strange kind of satisfaction when Jasmine lost in court. Some may say it brought him no real joy, but it gave him permission to move on, or to pose as the survivor in his own story. He played the angles, leaned into victimhood, but when he logged off for the night, there was no denying the years he'd lost to bitterness and legal wrangling. He got the final word in court, but no judge can reset the clock on all the damage done. Watching Jasmine forced to pay him spousal support, Gino was handed the receipts, but it's hard to call it a win when everyone walks away emptier. Jasmine, who believed revenge would finally set her free, ended up dragging her own chains even deeper. For weeks after the ruling, she kept the facade alive, a bold face, brash jokes, big energy. But the cracks started to show once the adrenaline gave way to reality. She claimed she didn't care, boasted about earning enough money to handle the payments without stress, but anyone who followed her closely could see the flicker of regret behind her performance. What stung most wasn't the money, but the sense that the whole crusade had stolen precious time. She lost moments with her daughter, risked Matt's faith in them, and for all the fighting, didn't get the closure she craved from Gino. Trust, once shattered, is rarely rebuilt by court orders or social media spins. Matt's patience had limits. Friends started pulling away, tired of picking sides, tired of watching Jasmine air her pain in live-streamed increments. Fans who had once screamed her name began to slip away, leaving behind smaller crowds, more critical questions, less room for old excuses. Jasmine felt it. When the screens dimmed and the posts ran out of likes, the silence that followed was sometimes worse than any courtroom loss. For Jasmine, regret is a private thing. When the house is quiet, when the baby finally falls asleep, those are the hours when anger turns into aching and defiance slips into doubt. She'd say she fought for what she deserved, but sometimes she has to wonder if she misread the rules. In chasing every last dollar, did she run past the door marked freedom and loop herself back into the same pain she meant to escape? Could there have been another way? Could Jasmine have achieved real victory if she walked away, left the money on the table, and offered Gino the silence he found so impossible to handle? Was the trap set by her own need to keep score, or by a system that teaches us the court is the only place to find justice? If she'd closed the chapter quietly, would Matt and their baby have had a real shot at family? Or did old heartbreak always have the last say, no matter how fresh the start? Jasmine's story with Gino finally closed on paper, but every ending carries its own echo. Now, as she looks ahead, legally single, but still tangled in the fallout, there's no guarantee of what comes next. She swears the future is wide open, that Matt is her best friend, her soulmate. They post happy moments, try to stitch warmth into public view, but every so often, cracks appear. Arguments spark over trust, money, the question of loyalty, and whether anyone in this saga is truly ready to put the past down. Seeds for new drama plant themselves in the smallest ways. Will Jasmine and Matt make good on the promise of a calmer life, or will all those old lessons fester until another fight explodes? Viewers who stuck around to the end know better than to trust the first sign of peace. Every reconciliation comes with a shadow when history keeps repeating itself. The chapter may be over, but nobody's betting the book is closed. Maybe Jasmine's story is a warning for everyone who's been burned before and thought justice meant revenge. Maybe it's a reminder that winning against someone who hurt you often means losing somewhere else. Can healing ever grow if you never stop tending the wounds? Jasmine's journey was messy, painful, and absolutely unforgettable. If you've ever wondered how people really move on after a break this toxic, or what happens when revenge leaves you with less than you started, you're going to want to see what comes next. Because the wildest endings don't always happen in court. Sometimes, the most jaw-dropping twists come after the paperwork, after the cameras dim and you're left with nothing but new beginnings or fresh regrets. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where the real healing or the biggest explosion could be just one bad decision away.